Good day, everybody. My name is Gerrit Willifeer. I'm the CEO of About IT Group. We have been doing installations on the ERP systems for the past 25 years. And today I would like to share with you the factors that contribute to a successful ERP implementation based on the clients that we have. So the first factor that we're going to look at and discuss today is to understand the client's business and then also the business processes within the client's business. We've got quite a diverse client base, and our clients are in many different industries, and it's really important to understand the industry that your client is functioning in. It can be retail, it can be distribution, or it can be manufacturing. So you need to understand the industry first, and then you need to try and understand the business of the client in that industry. So it's a challenge to understand those concepts because manufacturing is totally different from your retail environment, as are many other industries like mining, for instance. And for you to be successful to implement a system that will run your customer's business, you need to understand the challenges of those industries. And then you also need to understand how your customer's business is functioning within that industry and what kind of challenges they face with their competitors or their suppliers in that industry. We found that if the consultant just implement the system without understanding the basic principles of what the client's business is all about, he will most probably install the system based on what he thinks is the right thing to do. And as they start rolling out the system, they will then discover that some of the processes or some of the setups that's been done on the ERP is not conducive for the client's business. We also try and work with the customer's business processes. We implement the system so that we support the business process, and we don't try and change the business process to fit in with the system. Sometimes it's inevitable and we have to do it because we are selling off-the-shelf solutions, if I can call it that. Some of them are customizable. So our new cloud ERP solution, Acumatica, that we support, is a very configurable system and is also a customizable system. So if the system as it is standard does not comply with the business requirements or the business process, we will then revert to either customizing the software to fit in with the particular process that we need to support. What's really also important from an ERP system rollout point of view is the client staff that will now include their capabilities, their abilities, and then skills set that they have or that they are busy acquiring within the business. It is one of those factors that sometimes are being overlooked by people implementing with clients, and it's easy to overlook that because we don't always have insights into the customer's staff and all the people that will be working with the system. Having said that, it's no excuse that we should not consider that at a specific point in time, and the sooner we consider that when we are planning to implement the system, or if we are still in the discovery stages and quoting stages, the better. We have found in the past that some of our implementations have not so much failed, but we have not always met the on-time and within budget requirement on projects because of the fact that we had to spend more time with some individuals requiring more support and more assistance as what we've budgeted for. Most of the time we can do something about the skill set of the staff by adding more training or adding more training tools to the process, and that will help them to get to where we want them or need them to be in order to operate or perform their duties on the system. I firmly believe that there is no such thing as somebody is dumb or somebody hasn't got the ability to do something. It is just the way that we need to treat that person and to get them to do what we want them to do in the end. Of all the systems that we've implemented over the 25 years, I don't think we've ever reached a point where we said, okay, we give up. We cannot work with this individual, or this individual will not be able to comprehend what we want them to perform. Everybody can be trained and everybody can be assisted to do what we want them to do. Together with the client staff complement or the staff skill set goes the change management control. That is also one of the things that can be referred to as a soft skill or a soft area of the implementation process, where change management is not performed, and preferably the change management should be performed by the customer and not by the implementation team. The reason why I say that is that the implementation team should focus on implementing the system according to the functional design or the business requirements, and they should not necessarily be focused towards the change control function within the project rollout. We don't mind doing it. If we are requested to do that, then we will employ or deploy somebody that will look after that specifically, but it should not be the task of the implementation consultant or the team that's implementing to perform also the change management function. The reason why we prefer the customer to do the change management control is that they understand their staff a lot better than we do. They most probably know about things that happened in the past prior to us being involved with the client, and they will understand better how to deal with those specific individuals, because every person will take to the new system differently, and there's no one fit all situation. Most of the larger organizations where we are involved in, they have got a dedicated HR department, and the HR people will inevitably be involved in the change management. But also, change management is not just an HR function, it is also a promotional function within the business. So maybe we need to explain what change management all entails. It's basically the promotion of the new system amongst the staff members that are not so close to the project, to keep them informed, to keep them up to date, and to build a kind of expectation for the new system to be a positive event as and when it is launched and rolled out into the business. Change brings other factors to the table. People are scared of change. People are unsure if their job will be affected or how it will be affected going forward. So it's one of those things that you need to keep management and staff informed on a continuous basis as to why are we doing away with the existing system? Why are we implementing a new system? How are we going to go about it? Or when will it happen? And then also, if it does happen, how do we intend mitigating all the different scenarios that will happen when we do go live with a new system? One of the other factors that we usually look at when implementing is the actual turnover of the business. And why that is important is because we need to understand what size of organization are we working with. Is it an organization that has got a massive turnover? That will then indicate to us, not like everybody thinks they are making a massive profits. It will tell us that there are certain structures in place with those companies that have got big turnovers, because when you've got big turnover, inevitably you need to have good business processes. You need to have staff that can manage the accounting division. So you will not really find a one-man team in a client that has got R1 billion turnover. So we need to look at turnover to give us an indication of what we can expect back from the business, how much we can rely on their resources and how much we can rely on the skill set of their staff. It is an indication of complexity as well, because larger turnover clients normally have got different billing requirements when they bill on projects, for instance, if they are in road maintenance or in construction. It depends on what industry as well. But your higher turnover clients have got different ways of billing for different kind of services and products. So that brings complexity to the table, and that will determine or have an impact on our implementation budget. Higher turnover companies have also got a history of systems. They normally stay on systems a bit longer, and the complexity of the data that we need to get out of the old system will also be not problematic but complex, and we need to understand what are we dealing with. There are various benefits for us to know and to understand not just the monetary value of the turnover, but also how that turnover is constructed, or how that turnover is made up of. Is it made up of services? Is it made up of product? Is it made up of manufacturing products? Is it made up of deferred revenues? All sorts of different things we need to understand with regards to the turnover of a client. We also have got certain parameters or certain brackets within which we implement certain of our solutions. So, for instance, if you've got a high turnover client, we will tend to implement our systems that can deal with more complex business processes and complex requirements. If it's a lower turnover client, then we will most probably have a look at our more cost-effective solutions that don't have all the functionality or all the bells and whistles that normally goes with a more complex ERP system. And we will first look at those systems to see if they will support the business processes. So we try and advise the client and not perform a selling trick on the client where we just want to sell them one solution and we normally sell the higher end solution. We first do a requirement analysis from a business perspective, understand what the business is all about, understand what they require, and really understand why are they making this change. And then we will start looking at what kind of solution we can put to this problem or to this challenge that they have experienced or that they are experiencing and that they want us to solve. The next point is more focused towards our approach, how we approach a ERP project, especially if it's a project that has got a certain amount of complexities and it is a rollout over a number of companies, or it's a rollout over a number of geographical areas, depending on the structure of the business. So we like to plan our implementations in phases. Phase one being your basic standard as is phase. Phase two will be building on what we have already done in phase one. So there we start adding more features, maybe some of the nice to have features or not so critical features, or we will there start including features that are new to the business, and we first need to get the staff comfortable and knowledgeable on the basic functionality of the system in phase one. And then in phase two, we will start adding more complex or maybe more involved processes that is required in order to let the new system come to its full. So we find that doing it in phases gives us the opportunity to understand the business better in phase one. So we try and understand and work with the client and work in the business with the client for the first phase. Therefore, we can understand better what their needs are. And then in phase two, we can tailor-make the system to support those needs of the client better, because we understand the client's requirements and the client's business better. And that helps us to have a better implementation experience from a client perspective and from the implementation team's perspective, because it's really difficult to plan for something that you don't 100% understand. And it does happen that the client will explain to you how their business works to the best of their ability and to the best of their knowledge. But invariably, there are usually the small little things that are being overlooked because it's taken for granted, but it sometimes have a massive impact on what you are building and what you are putting together. So much so that we almost have to go back to the starting point and start from fresh to redesign and develop the system for them. Also, from a budgetary point of view, it's better for the client to roll out modules. If it's a modular system that we implement, roll out the modules in phases. So the financial impact on the business is not so huge. So we can go live phase one with the core modules, as we call it. So that is your standard general ledger, debtors, creditors, and inventory. And then in phase two, we might add, let's say, for instance, workflow, or we might add project management or project accounting rather, and other specific modules like manufacturing that they've got a requirement for. Obviously, it also goes without saying that if there are certain things that are your non-negotiables, those are, we have to have it in phase one, then we will go live with that, even if it is complex. It is just then something that we need to plan for properly, and we need to make sure that we understand it 100%. So you have to make sure that you can at least comply with the minimum requirements. We call it the minimum viable product. That is the minimum that we need to go live with in order for the business to succeed and the implementation to be successful. The next point is also a kind of approach to how we implement our solutions. And that is, we start with an end in mind. We will usually take the management packs and we'll take all the reports that are being produced by the business on a daily, weekly, monthly, and annually basis as well. But those are the financial statements. So we will have a look at those reports. Some of them are financial, some of them are operational, some of them are HR related, if we do payroll systems. And we will analyze the information on those reports. We will ask questions as to where and how do you get to these numbers. And from that, we can establish then what is required from a data processing and a data provision point of view in order to produce these kind of reports. We'll also look at re-engineering at that point in time, how we can re-engineer and optimize these reports for them. But the biggest benefit from working from the back to the front is that we make sure that all the data that we need to report on will be captured in the system, and how it will be captured and where it will be captured. That is really an approach that has worked very well for us. We don't mind working the other way around, but inevitably we've seen that we've got a 100% success rate if we work from the reports back to front. In closing, we also have a saying that we want to keep it simple, and it actually leads on to the other point that I made with regards to phased rollout. Don't overcomplicate the issues on the table. Don't overcomplicate what you want to try and achieve. The more simple and the more straightforward the approach is, the better or the more accurate the result will be that we will put on the table. We can make it more complex as we go forward if it is what is required. But by keeping it simple, what we try and do with that is we will not include, say, for round one, if it's a basic financial system that we roll out, we will not include integration with other systems and sharing of data from other systems into the accounting system. If it is something that can be manually captured or can be provided in a different way than having a very complex and automated integration, we will advise the client not to do it as part of phase one. We will attempt it in phase two or in phase three. So by keeping it simple, you have got more control over the outcomes of what you are busy implementing, and you also have a better perspective of how we're going to go about providing the client with a successful implementation. We have seen scenarios where people are complicating an issue because that is the way that they have done it always. So it is not to say that because you've done it for the past 10 years, that it is actually what is required by the business or the way that it is required to be done. In the past, you maybe had to do the job that way because of the system that you had at that time or that we are busy replacing. and that system could most probably not comply with your business process or the requirements. Therefore, you had to build a complex kind of process in order to get what you want out of the system. By fully understanding what it is that we need to do, we can unpack it and break it down to its very, very basic format, and then we start from fresh there. There's no need to do something or continue doing something because for the sake that you have been doing it for the past number of years, and that's the only way that you know. So it happens a lot that when we interview staff or when we do our discovery meetings with a client to understand their business, staff will explain to us a specific process, the way that they are doing it for whatever time period. And we need to then try and understand if there is not a better way of doing it. So you really need to consult to your client and not just making notes, okay, we will continue to do it this way. We really need to be thinking out of the box, make a contribution towards a better or a more simple way of doing stuff or doing the work, so that the client in the end feels they get more, not feels, they should see more value from you as the consultant. And you are not just providing a software solution, you are also providing a better solution altogether for their business. And that's kind of our differentiator, because sometimes you can buy the same software from 3, 4, 5 different vendors, but the differentiator will be the advice that we give based on our experience in the industry or on the number of installations that we've done before. So there we need to start adding value by simplifying most probably unnecessary complex processes. So in summary, these are the points that comes to my mind if I think about successful ERP implementations. And if anyone would ask me at any time of the day, what would you consider are the most important factors that you should look at to implement the system successfully? There might be other factors as well that I did not discuss now, and we might touch on them on a next session where we will go in more detail into what the ERP methodology is that we apply in about IT in order to make sure that our ERP implementations goes within budget and on time and is a success. Thank you very much for listening.